This evening I'm going to be out after a few rabbits and I'm taking out the HIKMICRO Thunder. This is the new improved version 2 of the original Thunder. As you can see, there's a few little subtle differences about it, such as the battery. This one comes with a small internal battery rather than the 18650, which just pops out like so. And it comes with 2 of these rechargeable batteries, so a couple of them is going to give you a good night's shooting. The scope itself is a thermal scope. It's an entry-level thermal scope. It's primarily aimed at rimfire and air rifle use, so it's got a usable kind of range, I would say, of probably about 100 yards, somewhere about there, certainly for rabbits and such, sort of like small game like that. So ideal for close range ratting, rabbiting, maybe even a little bit of foxing if it was in close. Is also nice and easy to use. So you've got 5 buttons on the top there. The first one's your power button. That obviously just powers up the unit, which comes on in around about, I think it was about 5 to 7 seconds, something like that, for the initial startup, and just for it to kind of sort its life out before it actually was usable. That also has a standby feature, so you can just a short press or quick press of that drops it straight into the standby, and then again short press brings it straight to life. Next button back is the colour palettes, so that allows you to swap between white hot, black hot, red hot and fusion. So there's your 4 colour palettes. Moving further back is the camera and record button, which incidentally has got 4 little raised dim pits on each of the corners, and that makes it a lot easier to find in the dark if you want to record something. And a short press does still image, and a long press then starts and stops the recording, which saves to an internal memory. It's also got a recoil activated record function. And moving back onto the next button, we've got the menu button. A short press of that brings up a little sub menu which allows you to adjust brightness and contrast, and then a long press brings up the main menu where you can access all your features. And then finally, the button on the end here nearest the eyepiece is the magnification button, which allows you to step up through the magnification, and it's also got a PIP version of picture-in-picture mode, so that's quite handy because you can keep the widescreen and have a more magnified image in the smaller box. As you can see, the scope's nice and compact, got built-in lens cap on the front there, and front focus, rubber eye cup, and then your eye focus there. Very easy to use, very intuitive menu system, easy to navigate through, simple button function on the top there. Everything's all just very positive and very straightforward little scope to use. And bearing in mind that this scope retails for around about £1,000, I reckon that's quite a lot of scope for the money. So that just gives you a very quick rundown of the scope. So let's get it zeroed and then we'll take it out and see if we can find a few bunnies. For zeroing purposes, I've just got a standard bit of kitchen tin foil and taped it to a box, and that stands out quite well in the thermal scope. Right, so as you can see, we're somewhat high, or a few inches high, and slightly, probably about a ½ inch or so off to one side. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use that, which is another bit of foil there and a bit of tape, just to indicate where the shots have gone, and then have another go. Right, well, there's our rectified shot, so that's perfect, and as you can see, a couple of nice headshots on the rabbit. So I think we're good to go. When we went out that little bit further, we put the targets out at 50 metres, then the image does start to get a little bit blurry, particularly on the high mags. But let's be honest, it's a £1,000 scope. It's designed for air rifle and rimfire use, so probably the majority of your shots you're going to take are going to be, if you're ratting or something, then you're 20-30 yards. Rabbiting 50 yards, 50 metres, something like that, maybe a little bit further, 60-70, but I'm sure it would cope with that just fine. So I think you know, for what it's designed for, it certainly does the job. Well, just after dark I've got out with my mate Gary and we went round one of his permissions just to have a look for a few rabbits, and it didn't take all that long before we found a few. Unfortunately, a lot of these areas the grass was quite long, so a lot of these shots were taken just from a kneel-in position or freehand, so that sort of is why it's a bit shaky on some of the footage. So after having a bit of a wander around, we end up moving a bit further down the bank where we're shooting slightly uphill and the grass is somewhat shorter here, so it makes it a bit easier to get clearer shots and more steady shots. Just above this rabbit warren here, we're getting rabbits coming out, and I shoot 3 or 4 here which are out at around about 60 metres, so that's about 65 yards, something like that. A couple a little bit further around about 70. And finally here I take one that's right out further on the bank at 90, I think it was about 92 metres, so just over 100 yards. And then finally, just around the even off, we bump into a fox. This fox was out on the bank, curled up at about, I think I walked out to about 55 metres from it, so again about 60 yards, and I was quite able to just put a shot straight into the side of the head and kill that cleanly. At the end of the evening we ended up with 27 rabbits and a fox, and I think that just goes to show really for an entry-level thermal scope the HIKMICRO Thunder is certainly capable of doing the job.